for season 2, there's no point doing this video now without spoilers. So if you haven't watched Andor season 2, watch it. I surprisingly loved Andor season 1, so I was very much excited for season 2. And overall, does season 2 live up to season 1? It might surpass it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the first 3 episodes, I watched them and I was like, it was good, but kind of pales in comparison to season 1. Granted, it was the first 3 episodes, but the scenes with those rebels on Yavin and the bickering and the arguing, I was like, is the writing taking a bit of a nosedive in season 2? And then a week later, episode 4, 5, and 6 came out, and I was like, that's more like it. The heist on Gormand, juxtaposed and mixed with the scene of Luthen and Claire trying to remove that microphone from that art exhibition with Krennic right next to them. Really suspenseful, very intense with the heist on Gormand. Really good stuff. But then episode 7, 8, and 9 came, and oh my god. Episode 8 of Andor season 2 blew me away. I was stunned, floored, shook when the episode finished. I was in awe of how powerful the episode was, with the Gorman massacre, the Gormans singing that song in the town square. The suspense was just building and building. You felt the dread, you felt like something horrible was about to happen, and then it happened. The Empire, the Imperials, with a false flag operation, shooting one of the Imperial soldiers and giving them a reason to massacre all the Gormans. And oh my, just wow. It was such a surreal experience to have such a strong, emotional, visceral reaction to Star Wars. Like, Star Wars at its best for me has been really entertaining with some compelling stuff here and there, but I've never really felt emotionally impacted by Star Wars a lot until watching Andor season 1 and season 2, but episode 8 of season 2 especially. And immediately following that was episode 9, with Mon Mothma giving her big speech at the Senate on Coruscant, and just how powerful that speech was. And that quote that she puts in there, "The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil." That is one of the most powerful, timely, and relevant quotes I've heard in a piece of entertainment in quite some time. And it came from Star Wars. And then Cassian comes in and extracts Mon Mothma out of the Senate. Really suspenseful, very intense stuff. And I was like, how are they going to live up to episode 8 and 9 with 10, 11, and 12? How are they going to send the show off in a way that lives up to how stunning and powerful those 2 episodes were? And then came episode 10, which I just watched like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, so it's still in my mind. And we see the backstory of Luthen and Claire. Luthen finding Claire when she was a kid, taking her in, and the forming of the partnership. Luthen teaching Claire all she knows about surviving in the world and learning to suppress her hate for the Empire until it's the right time to use it, and being smart and being tactical in this world. Interspliced with Luthen at the hospital because he stabs himself when Dedra finds him at the antique shop, and Claire's going through the hospital, sneaking past the Imperials, sneaking past the Stormtroopers. So you got that intensity, that suspense, mixed in with a compelling backstory that's adding depth to their relationship as this entire thing's going down in the Coruscant hospital. All of it crescendoing to Claire setting off those bombs, killing a couple of Stormtroopers, getting to Luthen and taking him off life support and letting Luthen die so he doesn't give over the knowledge to the Imperials. I can count on one hand the amount of time I've teared up watching a piece of Star Wars media, and most of those counts come from Andor season 2. The reason why Andor is so amazing is because it adds so much depth, weight, and gravity to not just the original Star Wars trilogy, but the Star Wars universe as a whole, because you truly get to see the sacrifices that people made to form the Rebel Alliance, and seeing the Rebel Alliance truly become a thing in season 2 was so impactful because of the decisions that have been made by the characters to lead to its formation. It's not just bad guys are ruling the galaxy, good guys step up to fight the bad guys. That's what it was like in the original trilogy, and I'm not knocking the original trilogy for that. It's good for what it is. It's just good guys versus bad guys, popcorn entertainment. It's great. But season 2 of Andor as a whole, season 1 and season 2, grounds the Star Wars universe in gritty espionage and deep, emotionally resonant character stories. And this is just what I've been waiting for Star Wars. This is what I've been waiting for Disney to do with these big, popcorn franchises in general with these Disney Plus series. Because with franchises like Star Wars and Marvel, it's very, very easy for them to stay really basic and surface level with the content they explore, the stories they tell, because they're the big money makers and they're, the cash cows. So you could literally just do anything and it'll make money. And there's cases to be made that they probably won't want to jeopardize the tones of those universes so that they can appeal to a broader audience and appeal more to families and whatnot. And sometimes in the process of doing that, you lose out on so much potential greatness with the storytelling that you can explore. So I'm just incredibly surprised and thankful that Disney allowed this version of Star Wars to get made. And just this year alone, between Andor Season 2, Daredevil Born Again, and Thunderbolts across Star Wars and Marvel, it looks like Disney is embracing more mature tones and more deep storylines in these big universes, which is just amazing to see. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy the big fun popcorn films and the exciting fun stories in these universes when they're good, but when they go deeper with the characters and the themes and the stories, it just hits a bit different because it destroys that misconception from some people that Star Wars, Marvel, it's just for kids and it's not cinema and it's not proper stories and they're not real films and all that bollocks. Whenever they do stuff like this, it's a big win for these kinds of films, for these kinds of shows, and these universes. And I also really appreciated how the depth of Andor Season 2 was not just from the Rebel side, but also the Imperial side, mainly with the character Dedra and the tactics she's employing, the moves she's making to try and excel at her job in the Empire and to chase that glory, and seeing her break down after the Gorman massacre, and then seeing her come into conflict with her fellow Imperial officers in episodes 10 through 12, and being interrogated by Krennic in episode 11, and eventually, at the very end, her being in an Imperial prison because of her tactics and how she's kind of messed things up by trying to excel so much and doing like underhanded tactics in the eyes of the Empire. Really just so different for an Imperial character. Also with Cyril, who is on Gorman and he witnesses the massacre firsthand. He's right there in the town square when it goes down, and he's looking around and he's completely distraught as to what he's been involved with and seeing what his work has led to. And there's that scene just before where he grabs Dedra by the throat, and I was like, what is going on here? My heart was pounding out of my chest. There's one thing that I now need to know, because Season 2 is the end of Andor. It leads directly into Rogue One in a very satisfying way. So, does Tony Gilroy and the writing staff intend on staying with Lucasfilm and doing more Star Wars series? Because they really, really should. I would not be against them being given the keys and the reins to the entire TV side of the Star Wars universe. I think that would be very, 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 very good. A couple of more quick observations. K2SO, best droid in the history of Star Wars, hands down. C3PO, get out of here. And Cleia got a huge character elevation in episode 10 because prior to that, I saw her as just Luthen's assistant who handled all the comms and stuff. But seeing the backstory and seeing her go through that hospital and take Luthen off the life support and all the depth there, it elevated her into a top 5 character in this entire series. I remember when they first announced this show, I was like, oh, a prequel spin-off about that character from Rogue One. Okay, I guess. And here I am, 2 seasons, 24 episodes later. I never expected to be saying that Andor is hands down my favourite piece of Star Wars media ever made.